Welcome to this episode of CVC Titans, where we're interviewing corporate venture leaders who've truly stood the test of time, running a CVC unit for more than a decade, at least, and therefore have seen the ups and downs of market cycles, executive change, and more. We're trying to get a sense of what the secrets are to that longevity. So I'm really delighted to have Stefan Gabriel here from Hitachi Ventures, and a true veteran of the industry, because this is not your first CVC unit that you have founded. And in fact, you're one of the few people that has a PhD in corporate ventures.
First of all, Maya, thanks for having me. In 2007, had the luck to be asked by 3M to start their first greenfield corporate venture capital arm, which was off the balance sheet venture capital arm. I set that up with several offices around the world, but it was more like the windows of the future that we were trying to inhale, translate for 3M, and to find out what is really key for a company like 3M to innovate and to update the portfolio. A few years later, 2017, I was approached by C-level people from Hitachi to do the same for the Hitachi company. So all my life, innovation and business development has been the key of my interest. So that's why I really started this PhD. I wanted to have the academic proof of what I have been doing and how to set up a venture arm more strategic and more relevant for corporates.
If I stop you there for a second, though, because I'd love you to take us to that moment in 2017. You've already set up one CVC unit. You've been studying the theory and the practice of it. So you have this opportunity to set something up from the best possible principles, right? Yeah. So how did you set it up? What were some of those absolute red lines that you needed to have in place to make sure that it worked?
Separate decision-making because of speed, because of entrepreneurial thinking, connecting with startups around the world, with entrepreneurs, to insert from outside in innovation to big corporations. That is the key. We started with two smaller funds, 150 million each, then a 300 and then a 400 million, adding up to 1 billion now, which is in 7 years quite significant. It shows that there's a lot of trust from Hitachi, us doing that exercise. At the same time, we look into 2,000 startups a year, right, and try to attract those, try to be a good investor, a go-to investor. For startup, we are a real investor. But we have a second mandate. The second mandate is about the 4 pillars of what I call in my PhD, the how to add value to corporates. And the 4 pillars are around helping them on strategy, advising them on strategy, how to transform businesses in the future, how does the future look like, and how to get prepared for that. Number 2 is to collaborate with these entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs collaborate with you if they see some benefit. So what kind of benefits can big corporations bring to the table? You can work on POCs, you can get introduced to new regions, to new customers. At the end of the day, it's some kind of a partnership that you need to develop to that end. And it all has to do with pillar number 3, which is entrepreneurship. If you don't speed up, if you don't learn how for a corporation as well as for a venture arm, how to take risk and how to manage risk, active portfolio management, active board seats, this is something you actively need to drive to next level to make it valuable for corporates. And number 4 pillar is the culture of innovation, the strategy, how to innovate a company, how to transform a company. Maybe the biggest change that happened in CVC industry today. In the past, it was more the window of the future, the opportunities, the pioneering, the trend scouting, but without real integration of this kind of insights and learning from CVC industry, you don't change the culture in big corporations. So I think there's a transformation of culture and speed and business strategy and business scope. I think today our corporation Hitachi is very much listening, very much following our advice or sparring partnership that we have. I've started not a governance board, but I have an advisory board. We call it the Hitachi Ventures Advisory Board. And we have some other sector-specific boards where we discuss strategies. We discuss the outcome, the input, the learning, and how to guide a business unit, how to help a business unit to transform its business, which is the key in the times of AI and physical AI today.
So having lots of mechanisms for that sort of deep integration back into the parent company seems to be a key thing. I wonder whether setting up the right structure initially to be able to enable all of that.
We try to understand and learn what is the strategy of Hitachi. We try to develop jointly strategies, how business models change, what's the importance about as a service, technologies. Hitachi is not a hardware manufacturer anymore as it was 100 years ago. It is a very much AI-driven, physically AI-driven company. So this is a huge job to transform a company. So we are a small part of this transformation process, and we try to outside in make sure that Hitachi stays innovative and up to speed. Now in AI, this has even accelerated significantly. So startups that we invest in, which is a seed investment a year ago, might already be a unicorn today. So if you miss this opportunity, you have a problem. So this is a big challenge. It means be very stringent, a good VC.
Yeah.
It's not only about investing anymore. It's about what you can see with what Hitachi is doing as well, forming new big partnerships.
Yeah.
Hitachi has partnerships with Intel, with NVIDIA, with AI, with Anthropic. There are so many opportunities. I did some research in 2008 for 3M. That was like 250,000 startups relevant for it's maybe 500,000 startups.
Yeah.
Now, you cannot, as a venture arm, look into all of these opportunities. We can scan 3,000 a year. We select from these 100 and we invest in maybe 10. We do the small investments as a start, like the 5 million in average, but we can go to the follow-on investments. And setting up the venture arm, it was important that we are autark in decision-making. We are very speedy and we are able to decide and work with these startups as fast as possible. You really need to find much earlier those entrepreneurs who really accelerate their businesses with real revenues. We do deep dives in relevant areas, proactively scout out. We don't scan just the market. It's the 400,000 is impossible. So we precisely know what are the areas of interest where we want to invest in. Then we select. We have to manage our portfolio very clear because we are limited in our investment opportunity. Even though $1 billion sounds big, it's not. It's an investment over 5, 6, 7 years. So we need to be very diligent and very conviction-driven.
Are there any instances that come to mind as early successes that you had when you were establishing this close working relationship between the unit and the rest of Hitachi?
We have, out of our 60 investments, we have 2 exits already. One is Regrello, which was an early exit for $1 billion to Salesforce. That's amazing, but you know, this is the venture capital success. The other success is how do we really manage to integrate new business opportunities and make them valuable for Hitachi to generate some billion revenues. We are at some of the sparring partner, advisor to the executives in Hitachi who built these businesses. So, and we want to make them aware of opportunities of the future. So we introduce even our startup CEOs, entrepreneurs to the executives direct. We have done that several times in bigger meetings. And this Hitachi Ventures board or the other strategy councils, as we call it, they are platforms where we can discuss these strategies.
You were talking about the potential of corporate venture. What do you think needs to happen for it to become an even more potent force?
I think we need to continue what we are doing. We need the trust. We need the continuous investment from our corporate mothership. I think it's good to have a single LP fund, not to get distracted from other corporate strategies. It's not a question of cash. It's actually the question, how quickly can we transition our learning and startup opportunities into valuable strategies to build new businesses for Hitachi? How energy, mobility topics, social life, healthcare work jointly together in industries, coming up with all these challenges of defense topics and space tech and what happens in the future, cybersecurity, corporate venture capital. can help on that, but it's about really accepting outside-in innovation and absorbing it, being excited for that. So what I say to my executives in Hitachi is always, I would need more management attention from you. I think there always needs to be the mindset to be open to innovations.
Are you finding at Hitachi now that the unit has been there for a long time, you've developed the mechanisms to connect, is it getting easier to get that collaboration going between the subs and the business units?
Yes, it is. We have now more than collaboration projects up and running, even with startups that are not in our investment portfolio. So that's a great momentum to see. And it's continuous, but you need to keep track. You need to really continuously follow up on these opportunities. So there's a separate team, which is part of the Strategic Social Innovation Business Unit, that are doing incubation, new business building. They are not on the payroll of the venture arm, but they are facilitating the same as us to work between business units and startups. And I think this is key. Sometimes it's more the relationship building, the partnership that is really needed to introduce new technologies and new services to Hitachi.
One thing that you talked about is just how limited the bandwidth is of any venture team compared to the number of opportunities that are out there. And I think you also mentioned that you're using it to help in this. Are you able to talk about what you found helpful?
We have 30 really amazing team members, from analysts to partner. We are more engineers and physicists than bankers. We are technology driven to a large extent, but with a business sense. We have another employee, which is Claude.
What kind of functions are you using Claude for? Is it for scouting, for evaluating portfolio?
That's a very good question. What are the functions that we need to improve portfolio management, screening, scouting activities, how to aggregate all of these 400, 500,000 opportunities and find out what is really making a difference. What is the key topics? You need Claude to be able to do that. Otherwise, you would need another 10, 15 analysts to do this job. And when you've stopped your analyst work or your deep dive work, you can start again, because it's changing so fast. But we do these deep dives where we scan the market. We look into 100 startups. We select 1 or 2 to invest in, maybe 5 to collaborate with. Half a year later, it's different. Start again. So Claude can help you doing that much faster. So this is something which has a huge impact on our portfolio management as well.
Final question, really, which is, looking back, what have you learned along the way that you wish you'd known a little bit earlier?
I've worked in BMW, 3M. I've helped some other corporate VCs to restructure their venture arms quite a lot. Now with Hitachi, it's very different cultures. Culture is maybe the biggest hinderer of accepting innovation from outside in a different way or different speed. I think the way we set it up, the way we are operating is ideal, if not even benchmark. A lot of other CVCs approach us to work with us. So we have a lot of co-investors from the CVC or VC industry. I think you never reach the optimum, but what is important is to get the continuous trust, the continuous funding in what you do, to make it a long journey, because venture capital is not a short-term win. A transition of a big corporation, it's a long-term goal. It's a constant process that you have to push for. And I think we do that in a perfect way. We get a lot more attention from Hitachi doing that. And this is what makes me happy.
Well, thank you so much, Stefan, for sharing the insights. There's so much more we could go into.
Yes.
But I think we've made a good start in untangling some of those threads that have made this a successful venture capital unit.
Thank you so much.